Well, Doug got everything to report, but I didn't know about Michael.
We'll call the Public Works Planning Committee to order. And, Mr. Stevens, you want to say a prayer?
I sure will. Our Father in heaven, we're so thankful for the beautiful weather that we've been enjoying and the change of the season. Father, we're so thankful for this county in which we live and the opportunity that we have to serve our fellow constituents. Lord, we pray that we'll take this information tonight and make good decisions with clear minds. Father, bless us for the rest of this week. We pray all this through Jesus' name. Amen.
I need a motion to approve the minutes, please.
I would make a motion to approve the minutes.
I got any questions on? Mrs. Riddle. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, look like building codes right up on the front.
All right. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Building code activity for April. We issued 253 building permits. Fees taken in was $74,658 for building permits, $6,665 for plumbing permits, $1,195 for gas permits, and fees taken in was $82,518. On the back of that report is our numbers for April. Total was 253. Our total permits issued this year, 869. At the top of the page, 74 single-family dwellings, April. Total taken in this year was 227 house permits. Last year, first 4 months, we issued 270 house permits. But if you look back on 2014 April, we did 117 single-family dwelling permits because we implemented the new building codes. So everybody was in a rush to get their permits before the new code went into effect. And as you see, the next month, May, it was down to 27. So I look, we are down 43 single-family dwellings right now compared to the last 4 months last year, but I look for that to catch up real quick the next few months. It was all because of our going to our new building codes.
Were the new codes more stringent?
They were definitely more stringent on the energy conservation code that we adopted, which requires the house to have a blower door test, the air leakage tests that come in, the insulations went up some, and so the energy conservation code was quite a bit more to comply with than the old code was. So a few of them rushed in and got those permits ahead of time. On our next report is our property maintenance inspections. In April, we performed 201 inspections with 19 new cases. Our total for the year is 590 inspections with 39 new cases. Looking back up in our categories on property maintenance, you can see it went from 3 to 33. That's tall weeds and grass. So we're collecting complaints now on our tall weeds and grass and abandoned properties. Zoning violations went from 33 to 51, and signs went from 37 to 47. So that's some of the increases we've had compared to last month's numbers. It's just that time of year, springtime, everybody's putting out signs or not cutting their grass or starting up some small businesses that we have been working with lately.
Is that where zoning violations may come into place?
Yes, zoning violations.
Just some summertime seasonal businesses.
Sometimes seasonal businesses. We've been working with a lot of wedding venue barns lately, so that's a few of them too. On our next report is our development tax collection. Building Codes Department took in $220,500. The Planning Department took in $37,500 for a total $258,000 collected. A cumulative total is $2,782,500. Our jurisdictions totals was Murfreesboro City with the highest collection at $151,500. So they've been on top the last few months with the apartment buildings and single-family dwellings also. And that's my report, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody got any questions you want us to know?
I would make a motion to accept the minutes or accept the report.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Mine must not have nothing.
They only have two things in there, both in your, on your pad there.
Okay.
The normal available lots and continues to slightly decline, so that's all that's happened there. You can see that in the past year, 100, that number has decreased to 100, about 184 it appears. And they have no rezoning request made at the April meeting, so you will not have any rezoning hearings or requests at your next commission meeting. So this next one that you have there simply just shows that the site plans that were submitted for approval, and Mr. Kush might can give you any further information, but I think that's the simple version. Nothing really has happened that you would have to take any action on.
Yeah. All good.
Well, I'll move that we approve the report as presented.
Second.
Motion made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Solid waste. Man, what a smile on his face.
Always have a smile. Don't y'all?
No,
I brought a whole stack of stuff. I thought that y'all probably brought your dinner with you, did you?
But no cane today, that's good.
Yeah.
No, I'm doing better, doing better. As you can see on the first page of the report is the landfill report, and we got a little extra busy out there, so we got a little extra revenue there at the bottom.
Under the solid waste report, budget amendment's my first one.
The fourth thing on there
Okay.
is both reports, I believe.
Thank you.
Tried to confuse you at work, didn't it?
You did.
Okay. But the landfill, it's, with the summertime coming, I was out there, spent some time yesterday and today, and before the Good Friday tornado, average was 27 trucks a day. Now we're running somewhere around 80 to 90 trucks a day, so after the tornado, people found us.
And they stayed with you.
They have. But everything's still going pretty well at the landfill. I've got a meeting with TDEC tomorrow. I'm not sure what they want, but they want me to be out there at 9 o'clock, so I'm sure by 9:05 I'll know what they want. On the convenience center report, we're more busy there as well. Got a whole lot of trash that we've been hauling and staying busy. Commissioner Dodd asked, you go to the last page of that report is the page that Kathy keeps up with on recycle, but she doesn't see all of it. So you should have a page that looks like this. That's the update page. I keep up with every load and track them all and keep up with the time and all that kind of stuff. So he was asking about the recycle last month, so that's the recycle per location. As you can see, Weekly Lane is the busiest location. Is 283 tons of recycle hauled out of there so far this calendar year. And if you look at the rankings to the far right for each of the centers, they're the ones that's usually closest to a city. You know, Walter Hill and Rock Crusher on either side of Murfreesboro, and then you got Smyrna, Laverne, and Almaville. And Commissioner Commissioner Gurley, the new Packard automobile should be
Yes,
up
I
and
saw
running
that.
this. Well, you know, we said we was gonna put one in, we didn't say we was gonna use it, but we're,
The compactor was there.
yeah. But,
The container for the compactor was not there.
but we're, the power should be, hopefully tomorrow, we'll have it up and running, but hopefully by the weekend we'll have it running. But, some numbers I didn't put on there for you, you know, recycling can be profitable, but the way we recycle, it's not necessarily profitable. Our trucking cost is roughly $100 an hour on a truck. So I went back and refigured the loads for each of those on that sheet, and it's roughly $262,000 in trucking cost. You know, just all that recycled commodity, and got a little less than $100,000 in rebate for it. Now the other cost that you see down there, the dollars on the bottom of the page, is the actual cost of what it costs to get rid of those items. You can see tires is the large one. We've spent $167,000 in tires so far this year. Any questions on any of that?
Good question.
The rest of what I have is not part of the report.
Make the motion to approve his report.
I second it.
Motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Let's go with the budget amendment first. We're asking to move some money from the truck driver's salary line item into overtime. We've been running with drivers short since Thanksgiving. Usually at least one. We've had one retire. We've had as many as 3/5 of the fleet out at one time. So we've been running overtime just to keep up with that. So we're asking to move $14,000 from the driver's salary line item into overtime to finish the year.
I move that we approve the budget request.
Second.
Commissioner Dodd,
Yes.
Commissioner Gurley,
Yes.
Commissioner Kush,
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy,
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan.
Yes.
This next request is actually requesting permission to apply for a grant. The grant application is due on August the 1st. The grant awarding won't be until the first of the year. The key thing about this request is it's going to take 4 government entities going together to make it work. It'll be the Rutherford County Solid Waste Department, Rutherford County School System, City of Murfreesboro Solid Waste Department, and the City of Murfreesboro School System will all have to get on board with this. So the intent here would be to apply for this grant. It's up to $2.5 million available over 5 years. That doesn't mean that we would, if we were to win it, we would get $2.5 million. That could be split up between other people, depending on who's got the better program. It's looking for combining resources with either other governments or private agencies. So we should be okay there. It's also looking for people that's prepared to get started. With the City of Murfreesboro's mulch facility, they're well on their way to be started with it. They still need more equipment, and they'll still need more concrete space to do the project. As far as the solid waste department, we would need different equipment from what we currently have just to haul the food waste. The school system, Rutherford County school system anyway, is already using either compostable or biodegradable bags, trash bags, plates, and flatware. So if it's biodegradable, then we'll need to get them changed to compostable. And then we'll need to get the City of Murfreesboro to do the same thing. But if we can get awarded this grant and start recycling food waste, we should be near 60% recycle rate in the school system. Because the food waste is the heaviest part of what's going on there.
60% of the total waste would be recycled.
Right. So this would be a composting process that, once it's completed and ready to be used, then you'd actually have a marketable product. And then along in that agreement is how you're gonna share the profits on it. You know, who's got the most cost in it would need to get the most money out of it, I would assume. But it's a 5-year deal. We met with TDEC more than once on this. The timing for them to come out with this grant is terrible for all of us, because we're right in the middle of budget times. So nobody's gonna have any budget money to do this. But by the time that the grant gets awarded, you have your time frame in there when you can do stuff, so we can try to plan it to where it'd be next budget season before we actually get started.
Does it require matching funds?
Yes,
How much?
dollar per dollar.
Dollar for dollar.
But that cost will be shared among all 4 entities, or we would front money?
No, it'd be shared but between everybody. Now, there's not gonna be enough grant money for everybody to get what they need, like the schools needing compostable materials. The grant wouldn't cover that anyway. It's gonna be for equipment and getting a site ready. Those type funds is what it would be for.
Will everybody get an equal share?
I think the equal share would be equal compared to what you put into it. So it wouldn't be, you know, everybody gets $1. You know, the city would probably wind up with more of it than the county, because all we're doing is trucking it over there and that type of stuff. They'd be doing all the processing for it.
Will they have to supply more of the matching funds than the county would?
They would, because they would apply to get grant reimbursement on their purchases. So whatever, you know, if they spent the lion's share of that, and then they'd have to match whatever they spent.
So the intent is to have this facility at their existing Florence Road.
That's the intent right now, and that's the logical place, because you're gonna need to use the wood waste.
Right.
So if you use it and do the compost anywhere else, then you're gonna have to haul that wood waste somewhere else.
Somewhere else, right.
So then you're gonna have an additional trucking expense in just moving it alone. The compost facilities are getting some new regulations. It should be out toward the end of this year, more stringent regulations, which are all good ones. I mean, there's nothing in there that they shouldn't be doing. It's leachate collection, odor control, vector control. There's testing that has to go along with it. You gotta test for all your heavy metals and all that kind of stuff. The one in Sevier County, somebody put some batteries in the garbage when they threw it away. Well, when they wound up with compost and ran the test, they were high in lead. You know, so you'd have to kind of screen through the stuff to make sure you're not getting that type of material in it. Because when you get something like that, high in lead, now you have a hazardous waste.
So the question now is, before us, is just simply the permission to apply for it.
That's correct. If we were to be awarded, then we'd have to come back to accept it. TDEC met with us. They've got some people in mind that they would like to see apply for this, and we're one of those, because we've got some things together. We had a meeting yesterday, and they explained the grant and everything else, and there was almost 30 people there, so it was kind of surprised me, and it was just for Middle Tennessee people, but there were people from all over Middle Tennessee there. The other grant that they were talking about was for convenience centers, but we're not eligible for that one. What they're talking about on the convenience center grant is, some of you have been around long enough to remember the green boxes that used to sit on the corners of the road before we had convenience centers. There's 2 counties still in the state of Tennessee that does that. So they're setting up the grant to help them move away from that, but I don't think either one of them's gonna apply for it.
Which 2 counties is it?
Hardin County and Carroll County, I think. I'm not sure what the other one is, but I know Hardin County. But their general public likes it the way it is, so they're gonna probably keep it that way.
This is just a 1-year, fiscal year term for this grant.
This grant is over a 5-year period.
Okay.
2.5 spread over that period, or?
Well, it would depend on how quickly you apply for it and try to spend it.
Up to that much, you don't know how much
Right.
you're gonna get.
Okay. And so the question is, we apply, do we have to do any pre-planning before we apply? If we are accepted and awarded, are we committed at that point? It seems like there's a lot of matching funds, a lot of discussion needs to take place.
Well, what we would have to do to actually get the grant application in is we would have to have them, give them the plan on what we plan to do, how we plan to do it, where we plan to do it, the equipment that we already have in place, and the equipment, additional equipment that we would need. And then a timeline on if we were awarded a grant, we would start phase 1 at whatever date, then move on through. So we'd have to do all that work just to get the application in.
And all of this has to be done with all of these 4 entities that he mentioned. I mean, I guess we'll be applying as a partnership arrangement here. It's not just Rutherford County applying. We have to get, all of this is sort of conditioned on us being able to work out the terms and conditions and the plan that's suitable to all of the parties involved.
And it'll go with up to a commitment of $2.5 million divided among the
Right.
entities.
And whatever money we receive, we'll have to match that money.
So we could be committing to $2.5 million investment in a compost
That's correct.
program.
Well, all of the partners together could be committed to
Correct.
that much.
Ours
We
could
don't-
be a
We
fraction
don't know
of
how
it.
what our fraction is yet,
Yeah.
until they develop their plan.
It would seem that if we're not going to get the grant till after the first of the year, then most of this would hit the next budget cycle, right?
Yes. Well,
As
what
far
I-
as the initial expenditure.
Right,
That
what
would-
I
The
would
next
plan.
budget cycle will be the first one impacted by any matching funds.
Right, what I would envision in the writing of the grant, our phase 1 wouldn't start till after July of 2016.
So it would require some sort of interlocal agreement that spells all this out in some detail between the 4 partners, you might say, in the project.
And that in itself may
Makes the
not
problem.
happen.
And this is a revenue generating opportunity?
The compost, once it's a product, you can either sell it bulk or bagged. Of course, if you sell it bagged, then you have to have some type of bagging system to bag it.
More equipment.
Sell it to whom?
You
Envision your
could sell it.
customer.
I would envision the customer to be residents and some businesses. Some of your landscaping type businesses, because it's going to be a good soil amendment, or it's going to be, kind of a potting soil type.
Do other compostable materials get mixed in with this food waste?
You have food waste and wood waste, and you could put in sewer sludge. So if the city of Murfreesboro chose to, they could actually do it by themselves, just with the sewer sludge and the compost and the wood waste. That's not where TDEC wants. They really want the food waste involved.
So really what I think Mac is asking you to do is give consent to allow Rutherford County, represented by our solid waste department, to engage and enter into serious discussions with the other entities that he mentioned to see if they can develop a plan that is reasonable and maybe somewhat acceptable to the whole group, and then make the applications. And then subject to the receipt of the application, then you would then have an opportunity to decide if you really want to accept it and really want to fund it.
So moved. I would like to make that motion to engage based upon commitment with the other entities. And then we would need to look at the financial commitment if indeed we are awarded.
Right.
Second.
I think this could be the beginning of one of our
Yeah,
opportunities with
that's right.
recycling.
If you didn't have the matching, if you didn't have that $2.5 million, would you do it anyway?
The timing is not actually great for us to do it because we have free disposal.
Yeah.
So you're going to have the cost of dealing with the food to get it to a product that's sellable. Recycle Rutherford had a meeting last week, I believe it was, and had the compost company here. And one of the questions I asked him is, what's it cost? What's the operational cost? $30 a ton is what his operational cost is. Now ours may be different from that, but then you're going to wind up with that food waste that currently we dump at Middle Point for free. It's going to cost us, could be as much as $30 a ton to go through the process. I did not ask him what he sells the product for. would hope it's more than $30 a ton, but I don't have a clue. What does mulch sell for? It doesn't sell by the ton, though. $4 or $5 a $50 bag.
I'm just concerned about, do you look downfield in 5 years and say, okay, if we don't get another supporting arm from TDEC, if at the end of 5 years our money's gone, do we have the momentum to fill that void of whatever this grant, the loss of grant money would? I didn't explain that very well.
Well, and I understand where you're going.
Yeah.
To answer your question, I think yes for the future, because Middle Point's going to close in 10 or 12 years. I had a meeting today with a company that we talked about a lot of options, and there's a lot of options out there for us when it closes. So, and there's not really one particular thing, one process that will meet all of our needs. So we're going to wind up with multiple ventures in different things to take care of all of our disposal needs.
Yeah.
So composting could definitely be one of those.
Once if this grant pays for a lot of the equipment and everything, we'd have that. I would assume it would be a few years at any rate before we'd have to reinvest and so on in the equipment. So it would be bought and paid for. And we would have the cost of hauling and processing only once that's done.
Right. And then see, the part of the problem with the equipment, if you're hauling nothing but food waste, think about what you scrape off your plate, and you put that in a front loader container, you dump that over in a truck and you pack it up. It's going to start coming around the blade. It's going to be a big, huge mess. So we're not confident at this time our current system of disposal will work. Because you're going to have
So
you're going to have a lot of liquid going along with it.
You might be one of those trucks that I've gotten behind on occasion that's leaking this junk out that's hitting my windshield. Right?
Well, that's not what we want to do. That's really
That's
we
not
want to
what
look
you
at
wanna
something
do, but
different.
you could be.
Right.
That you hope is milk.
Right, what you hope is, yeah.
All right. So we have a motion and a second.
Would you like to hear your motion?
Yes, ma'am, I would.
Okay. Give consent for Rutherford County to engage and enter into discussions with the three other entities to develop a plan and make application for this grant.
Sound good?
Good. Thumbs up.
Everybody understand the motion?
If the city solid waste doesn't follow through, then we're out of business.
Yeah.
If Murfreesboro City Schools don't follow through, we're not necessarily out of business, but it's going to lessen the amount of volume that we'll have. If Brother County Schools don't follow through, then we're out of business too. We won't have enough food waste to justify doing it.
But in the end, you are gonna have a product to sell, hopefully.
Yes. But I don't know what that value is going to be. I don't know, as far as cost and value, I don't know if you'll break even or make money. I don't know that process.
And we don't know what the process is that it takes to make this a product that's sellable on the open market. There are environmental discussions that somebody else will have to give a lot of guidance to determine exactly what additional steps have to be taken to get it to that point. So that may be part of their initial plan that they put forth as they make this application.
Label it organic, you'll be okay.
Do what?
Label it organic, you'll be okay.
Well, there's a lot of testing procedures and all that. And part of the requirement is to meet the compost authorities regulations. So that's part of the new regulations TDEC's going to come up with, is to step up to that level.
I would think there would be testing as far as bio hazards and stuff like that, because that could be one way to spread some particular disease or something. I know some of the products you buy indicate that it's been sterilized and so on, so I think you really are going to have to get pretty deep into it.
Well, when it goes through the compost process, it generates enough heat to sterilize all that. But if you don't let it go through the process correctly, then it doesn't it doesn't get sterilized. It's affected a whole lot by weather. If it rains a whole lot, you got to cover it up. It's too wet. If it gets too dry, then the process slows down or almost stops. It's a lot of chemistry that goes on there.
In your vision for your department and your awareness of our future needs, are you in agreement in pursuing this
Yes.
at this time?
Mhm.
Anybody got any more discussions? We'll vote. Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
And this week, we're doing another trash audit with the schools. What we're doing is getting prepared to do the lock-in systems throughout the summer on all the schools, but what we're also doing with the waste audit is to determine what actual level of service each school needs. I know there's 276 dumpsters out there, so if we don't need them all, there's no need in locking them all unless we put locks on them. We use them for spare containers later. But by doing the waste audit, it's going to accomplish two things for us. One, we're going to get that level of service required. We're going to lock the dumpsters, hopefully keep out the public dumping. If we can pull those things off as the schools add on new buildings, we're going to push further down the road having to put another truck on the street. So that's going to be our big savings there, is saving that $8,000 or $4,000 a week to have another truck on the street.
Just manage the project first.
Mhm.
Anything on the incinerator? Was it incinerator? Is that the project y'all looked at
In
months
Alabama.
ago? Anything?
Not any, I haven't talked with them. Colonel Davidson, have you?
I talked to him month or two ago. The city is looking to host a solid waste summit to kind of look strategically at what our plan will be, because any plan we have is going to have to include the city and all the municipalities as well as the county. And so I talked to them about potentially coming up and kind of talking what they're doing in Lamar County. So that was extending my conversation with them.
And we're probably gonna take some trips and look at some other facilities and how they do it, and different ways of doing it. So that, like I say, that's, just one particular way may not be our answer. Because we've got to deal with garbage, we've got to deal with recycled materials, we've got to deal with sewer sludge and tires. And tires and sewer sludge are the big problem waste right now that we're facing.
Any other questions? Thank you, Max.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
That looks like all we got tonight. Highway Department now. We'll adjourn it. Take that.
Yep.